Hey, welcome back, guys. Shane here with the Scrub Club, and today we're gonna do my take on the Play TCG webcam of regional and like where the meta's at. I tend to view my tier list a little bit differently than most people. I'm a big fan of math and using percentages to figure out like conversion rates and how much a deck is represented in Top Cut to figure out what's the tier 1, what's tier 2, whatever. One thing you'll notice, I don't really use tier 1.5 when we get to that point. To me, tier 1.5 is just a way of saying tier 2. I think it's pointless. But anyway, let's get into it. So Play TCG was this past weekend, the online event. We are using Eggman's website here to take a look at the breakdown. So shout out to Eggman for putting all this together. It's really a great asset. Everyone should be using this. If you're not, feel bad for you, bro. But anyway, so let's look at this. So in the top 16, we had 8 Newgate, 3 Zoro, 1 Queen, 1 Croc, 1 Dofi, 1 Kid, and 1 Rebecca. And one thing I really like about this is that it gives us the leader breakdown for people that entered the event, not just Top Cut. So with this, we can kind of look at conversion rates, right? So if we go look at this, let's see here. I believe it's this one I've got here. I've got little notes to all the math here. So we've got 8 Newgate, right? So out of 103 people playing it, that gave us a conversion rate of almost 8%. 3 Zoro out of 43 gave us a conversion rate of about 7%. The 1 Queen deck was a conversion rate of 4%. The Croc was about 3%. Dofi at 1.5%. With Kid, we don't really have a conversion rate because there were so few of it being played that it's in this other section. So we don't really have that. And then Rebecca converted at about a 3% rate. We can go back through and look at some other events to pull that information as well. And if y'all want to do that, you can. I did it, but I don't plan to showcase it here. I think what I'm going to do is every time we have an event, just do a video like this, look at how all the decks did in the most recent one, and then kind of change my tier list based on that. So, I'm not really going to go too much into the decks. That's kind of Eggman's thing. I don't want to just do what he's doing. So, we did have Queen win the event, and then Croc did lose in the finals to Queen. I do believe what we're starting to see here is blue just being very well positioned into the sea of red. Yellow struggling in that sea of red. Green and black for the most part, outside of like a few things here and there, seem to be pretty dead in the water, as well as purple. I like green, purple Dofi. I think is more of a green deck than a purple deck, but I digress. But anyway, let's get into the conversion rates and where I think everybody sits. So everything that has not had a top 16, I have down here in the bottom. The Black Luffy deck has gotten a top 32, but not a top 16. So I've just got it at the top right here for right now. Knoxville is the only one where we tracked top 32 out of all the OPO4 events. So I just decided to only look at the top 16 for that event. You can look at top 32 if you want. That's your prerogative, but this is what we're going to do for this. So, out of all the OPO4 events, let's see. Law has had the highest representation in Top Cut, taking up 26% of all Top Cuts. There have been 96 decks total, and 25 of them were Law. And so, with such a high percentage, I mean, Law has to go up here, right? Law is just so well positioned in the meta. While the deck is moderately difficult to play, I do think to a point it's gotten a little more streamlined. Most people have had the deck long enough now to know how to play it. It's not set 1, set 2 anymore, where Law makes people want to have brain bleeds. The next most represented deck in Top Cut, no surprise to anyone, is Newgate. Newgate has had 1 less top than Law, 24 out of the 96 decks. So we're definitely going to put Newgate up there. The whole format kind of revolves around him in a way. Even if he's not winning every event, the decks are tailored to beat him. Him and Law specifically, I think, are the decks everyone's teching for. The next one, this is where things kind of can be up to opinion here. So Katakuri has more percentage of Top Cut than Zoro. However, Katakuri's conversion rate from the events I've been able to track conversion is only 2.1%. Newgate had a 6.3% conversion, and Law had a 6.5% conversion. So Katakuri is one of the most popular decks in the format, or at least it has been. I don't think you'll see it continuing that way, because when you only have a 2.1% conversion, I mean, that's pretty bad. And then I think it was in this Play TCG one right here, you had 78 Katakuri decks being played, and not a single one made top 16. So that's alarming. Yellow is not in the best place right now, at least not straight yellow. And I think playing it in a big event right now is a bit of a trap. So I'm not going to put Katakuri in Tier 1. I think Katakuri is like the top of Tier 2. I think it's a very forgiving deck and is very powerful. And trigger diffing is very important. So I think that's why you see it take up so much of the top cut. But we can't ignore that 2.1% conversion rate. That is very, very low. Next up, the last deck I'm going to put in Tier 1 is, of course, Zoro. Zoro really not that popular at the beginning of this format. I think that's just because people were afraid of Rebecca because she does sort of hard counter Zoro. I say sort of. She really hard counters Zoro. But she's kind of getting checked by everything else in the meta. She's very difficult to play, so you don't see a whole lot of her running around. Zoro is only 12 of the 96 decks that have made top cut, so 12.5% compared to Cat's 14.6%. However, Zoro has the highest conversion rate that I can track at an 8.29%. So it's very much looking like Zoro is probably the best deck in the format again, at least potentially. This is how I would rank it so far, in my opinion, based on the statistics that I can gather. Next up, going back into Tier 2, that's where I'm gonna throw Green Purple Dofi. Green Purple Dofi has had 5 top cuts for 5.2% of the top cuts, with a conversion rank at about the same as Katakuri's at a 2.3%. So it sees less play than Katakuri, but and it tops less, but its conversion rate is about the same. Let's see. The last one I'm going to put in Tier 2 is Crocodile. I honestly think it's probably the best deck in Tier 2, in my opinion. And it can struggle against Yellow, but this deck's really strong, especially in the right hands. Let's see. It has 5 top cuts, so again, 5.2%, just like Dofi. Its conversion rate's a 1.9%, so not a high conversion or anything. So yeah, it's probably, maybe we'll put it at the bottom. The numbers don't lie. I do think we'll see this deck become more popular, but we'll see as time goes on. Let's see, for Rogue, so these are going to be the decks that have multiple tops, but a very low amount of them that you don't see too often. I think it's only fitting to put Queen at the top of this, as it just won the event. While Queen did win, I don't think it is one of the best decks by any stretch. I think a lot of people don't know how to play against this deck, and as people figure out how to play against it, you'll see it not do as well. But it is also very well positioned, as it has a very good Whitebeard matchup. So that is worth noting. Like, anything that has a good Whitebeard matchup, if you play enough Whitebeards, you're just going to do well. Obviously, the deck could still actually get better, but we'll see. For right now, I'm just going to put it in Rogue, as it's had 2 tops, so it's had 2.1% of all the tops for a 1.3% conversion. Ace has also had 2 tops. I don't know how many people have really been playing it. So few people play it that it's never trackable, but he has had some tops. It's really unfortunate. He took the biggest hit when they limited all the red cards last format, but it is nice to see him doing well again. Flame Emperor is a really powerful card, so we'll see where this goes from here, but it does just feel like there's leaders that do a similar thing as him, but better. So I wouldn't expect to see too much more from him this format. Next up in Rogue, we've got Kid. Kid's always going to be something you got to be careful about. Like, just being able to swing twice with your leader is really strong. I don't think that's ever going to change. It's been good since set 1. We're going on almost a year now, and it's just going to continue, I think, to always be at least a Rogue deck in some capacity, if not a tiered deck. Again, so few people play it, I can't track any kind of conversion, but it's had 2 tops. The last deck I have in Rogue is Rebecca. This is a deck I really expect to come out of Rogue at some point. I think similar to Law, it's just so difficult to play and new that people haven't quite figured it out yet. There are some people who have figured it out, but not everyone. So as people have more time to test with this deck, I think you'll see more tops as they figure out how to combat some decks in the meta. Let's see, it has what? So it has 3 tops. So it has more than the other Rogue decks, but still not a lot. So we'll see. I definitely expect to bump this up, though. This is a very powerful deck. And my one top wonders, these are the decks that have a top, but I would be shocked to see them again. Lucci I think, is much more likely to top again than Kaido. I'm really shocked that this managed to top, but I mean, someone played the deck really well on the right day, and it worked out for him. Lucci just... It's like none of the black leaders are really all that great. We get Sakazuki next set, the black-blue one. That's probably just going to be the go-to. But I think anyone who is playing Lucci is probably just going to play Rebecca at this point. But I think Lucci will probably get some more tops at some point. 1 or 2 here and there. But for now, he only has 1. So we're going to put him in the one top wonder. So that's all I've kind of got, guys. Y'all are more than welcome to disagree with how I rank these. But the numbers never really lie. So we'll see how the numbers continue to look as the format goes on. So far we've only had, 6 events of OPO4, and we're going to have a lot more coming up. I did not count any 3v3s or anything like that in this list. I only counted the online and in-person events from Europe, North America, and Latin America. So, anyway, like I said, y'all can feel free to comment whether you agree, disagree, what you think of the conversion rates and the numbers and where they're going to go the rest of the set. But that's it for me and the Scrub Club. Have a good one.